Have you ever felt exhausted for no clear reason? Your body remains healthy, yet your spirit feels drained every time you step into a room, open a message, or try to please someone you know doesn't deserve it. Some things are not loud, not dramatic, but quietly wear you down day after day. They don't break you all at once, but they make you lose pieces of yourself along the way. In a noisy world, the wise don't always choose to confront. They choose to retreat deliberately, not out of weakness, but from clarity about what's been slowly draining their silent power. Silence isn't just the absence of speech, it's another way of saying, I choose peace over proving a point. In this video, we won't talk about doing more. We'll talk about letting go of the right things. 10 seemingly invisible forces that are quietly keeping you from living as a free man will be removed one by one. Because sometimes you don't need to add anything to become stronger. You just need to be lighter and quieter. 1. The mask, worn to be accepted. There is a kind of fatigue that doesn't come from the body, but from living as someone else for far too many years. You smile when your heart is numb. You nod when it goes against your nature. You live in ways that keep others comfortable until you forget what peace means to you. No one forced you to wear the mask. But at some point, you chose to put it on, to be loved, to be accepted, to be seen as approachable, agreeable, safe. And then people started loving you not for who you are, but for a carefully curated version that pleases the crowd. The most painful thing isn't being hated, it's being loved for something you're not. That makes it harder to take off the mask, because you're afraid. If I remove it, who will stay? You become the lead actor in your own life, long enough that you no longer know if you're still acting. But your soul knows. It fades each time you smile when you want to cry, stay silent when you long to speak, agree when your heart resists. It doesn't die instantly. It dims like an ember that no one breathes life into anymore. Forgive yourself for all the times you compromised just to keep the peace. And let it be a wake-up call. You were not born to please everyone. You cannot perfect every role without losing the protagonist. Your true self doesn't need widespread approval. It needs one alignment with you. The Stoics never taught rebellion or resistance. They taught the courage to live in accordance with reason, the core of human dignity. When you begin to remove the mask, the world will be confused. Some will leave, some will attack. But the truth is, you lose nothing except the relationships built on illusion. And if anyone stays when you finally live as yourself, they are the ones who should. You don't need the world's respect. You need enough self-respect to stop performing. The mask isn't heavy, but when worn too long, it steals your breath. Removing it doesn't need an announcement or approval. Just a single moment where you tell yourself, from today, I don't need to make sense to others. I only need to be honest in my own eyes. And in that moment, you don't just step out of the exhaustion of living falsely. You step into a kind of freedom no one can give you except yourself. To the tape of the past that keeps replaying. When the mask comes off, you think the hardest part is living honestly. But what you now face is even more daunting. Not the gaze of others, but the echo of the past, because freedom isn't only blocked by what others expect of you, it's also trapped in the memories you haven't released. Outer freedom means nothing if your mind remains chained to what's long gone. And that's why we must now enter the next silent chamber where the past still replays quietly like a tape that refuses to stop. Some moments ended long ago in time, but still live vividly in your mind. A phrase you wish you'd responded to differently. A mistake that made you feel unworthy. A glance. A closed door. A moment of abandonment, all so deeply etched that you don't just remember them, you relive them daily. You're no longer in the past, but the past is still in you. And that is the real prison. No one locked you in, you stayed, as if leaving would betray your memories. The Stoics never said you must forget, because forgetting cannot be forced. They only ask you this: are you using the past to learn, or to bind yourself? Between the two lies an entire life. Those stuck in the past aren't held there by what happened, but by the belief that what happened still defines their worth today. They don't suffer from memory itself, but from resisting the fact that it has ended. Some cling to pain, thinking it proves strength. But holding on is not strength, letting go is. Because holding on to the past is a form of false control. You cannot change what happened, yet you still try to control how you feel when you recall it. Ironically, that very attempt gives your emotions more control over you. You think remembering protects you from repeating mistakes, but it's just your mind avoiding the truth. You are no longer that person. You've moved on. Only memory stands still. What wounds you isn't the event itself, but letting it continue to define you. You remember every detail of the hurt, but forget something more important. You survived. You made it through, and making it through is a quiet kind of victory. When you put that tape down, you don't deny the memory, you simply refuse to let it shape your present. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you keep feeding your mind with what's gone, you'll never be calm enough to see what's right in front of you. Letting go of the past isn't about forgetting what others did to you. It's about no longer letting them do it again through your own thoughts. Letting go isn't about forgiving those who hurt you. It's about releasing yourself after years of self-punishment. And when you place that tape down, you'll see this. The thing that once broke you also led to your awakening. Not all memories are meant to be kept. Some only appear to guide you toward transformation, then their task is done. Don't imprison yourself in what was, just because it hurt. You are not that old story. You are the one writing the next page. And to write it, you must lift the pen from the paper of the past and place it in the present, where silence begins to become freedom. 3. The excuse called tomorrow. There is something more persistent than the past. It is the promise of a better tomorrow. Memory holds you back, but illusion is what keeps you from ever starting. After each disappointment, we comfort ourselves by saying, "It's okay. Tomorrow I'll be different." But that tomorrow has time and again remained a blurry station along the tracks of procrastination. You don't step back, but you also don't move forward. You remain still trapped in a cycle of beautiful intentions that never materialize. The most dangerous thing isn't failure, it's believing you still have time to try again. And in that belief, you continue to live halfway, try halfway, commit halfway until you completely give up. You don't live poorly, you just live incompletely, lacking decisiveness, lacking action when the moment is right, lacking the honesty to admit, if not now, then never. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. But instead of living as if this were your last day, you live as if you'll always have one more sleep before you begin. We love the idea of a fresh start because it's comforting. It gives us permission to delay without feeling guilty. I haven't given up, I just haven't started. But that is one of the most subtle forms of self-deception. It disguises stagnation in the clothing of hope, making you feel as if you're making progress while in truth, you're simply looping in your own hesitation. The Stoics never praised delay. They saw procrastination as a betrayal of your own reason because you know what is right, yet you fail to act in time to protect it. Action doesn't have to be grand. Sometimes it begins with getting up on time, silencing a notification, saying no to an old habit. But if you don't begin with the small things, you'll never have the courage to tackle the bigger ones. And every time you whisper, "Maybe tomorrow," you're not just postponing a task, you're postponing the stronger version of yourself you could have become. Tomorrow isn't salvation. It's seduction. And if you don't sever this vague relationship with tomorrow, you'll forever live beside your potential without ever stepping into it. Some are not imprisoned by the past, but lock themselves in the promise of a future that never arrives. They think waiting a little longer will make them more ready. But no one is ever fully ready to begin. We only begin, and from there, learn how to be ready. The journey never asks for perfection at the starting line. It asks for one thing: that you step forward, not tomorrow, but today or never. And once you dare to step forward, you will face something you've long tried to avoid. A faint, persistent echo. The echo of what has passed. Because leaving procrastination isn't enough. You must also learn not to be pulled back into the memories you've replayed in your heart far too many times. And that is when you'll face the tape that still plays not outside of life, but within yourself. For imagined disasters. Procrastination isn't just a habit, it's a refined defense mechanism. We don't dare begin because we're unsure what lies ahead. And when reality hasn't even arrived, our imagination has already constructed a scenario so dreadful it robs us of the courage to try. That's why many people don't live in the past or dream of the future yet still remain stuck. Not in memory or fantasy, but in the anxiety shaped by what they call preparation. There's a common habit few notice: imagining the worst possible outcome and using it to convince ourselves that we're being cautious. You prepare a response in case you're rejected. You draft an explanation in case you fail. You construct scenarios in your mind, not to protect yourself, but to stop yourself from moving forward. You think you're managing risk, but in truth, you're being ruled by fear wearing the mask of reason. You begin to live as if disaster is inevitable. Every silence, every pause, every delay becomes a sign that something bad is coming. The Stoics never denied fear. They simply never gave it power. Epictetus once said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." We are not afraid of the event, we fear what we imagine about it. A meeting hasn't happened yet, but you already see your boss's cold stare. A date hasn't begun, but you've pictured the disappointment on the other person's face. You don't wait for reality to speak, you let your mind speak for it. And the terrifying part is, your brain is so good at crafting stories that you start believing they're true. But when you live in imagined disasters, you don't just lose calm, you lose the ability to truly respond when the real moment arrives. Because your energy has already been drained. You've fought a battle against a threat that never existed, and you're exhausted when the real one shows up. The Stoics called this a waste of inner strength. They didn't prepare for every possible outcome. They prepared for one thing only: to respond with calm to whatever comes. No need to predict whether it's good or bad. No need to picture it beforehand. Only the steadiness not to be swept away. Worry is a kind of ritual we perform to feel like we're doing something when, in truth, we've done nothing at all. It makes you believe you're in control when you're actually being controlled by a scenario you created yourself. And in the end, what exhausts you isn't what you've done, but all the imagined realities you've lived inside your mind. Unseen, unspoken, unconfirmed. Imagined disasters are a kind of memory that never happened yet. They carry the weight of real ones. You don't need to positivize everything. You just need to stop believing everything you think. Because not every thought is true, and not every fear deserves the anxiety you feed it. Letting go of imagination is how you return the present moment to yourself. And in the present, no matter what happens, you can still face it, not because you saw it coming, but because you no longer fear it. 5. Silent resentment. Some fears don't come from the present. They arise from the shadows we build in our own minds. But anger is different. It needs no imagination. It exists real and vivid. It needs no words, no shouting, only silence. And in that silence, resentment can live on like a wound that refuses to close. You still work, still talk, still smile, but in a quiet corner of your soul, you're still bracing against something that was never resolved. The greatest danger of resentment doesn't lie in its eruption, it lies in how deliberately we suppress it. You don't speak up, don't seek resolution, don't initiate dialogue because you think staying silent makes you stronger. But that silence doesn't free you. It only gives resentment more space to take root. At first, it's a discomfort, then an obsession. Eventually, it becomes the lens through which you distort everything around you, even the things going well. You no longer respond to the present. You're still reacting to an old wound that never healed. The Stoics never taught you to forgive mindlessly. Forgiveness isn't something you do to ease someone else. It's something you do so you're no longer ruled. Seneca once wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary." Every time you replay a betrayal, a hurtful word, a moment of disrespect, and let it spark rage again, you prolong the past's rule over your present. You can't control when emotions arise, but you can choose how long you let them stay. Resentment doesn't always explode like anger. It's quieter but more corrosive. You start becoming wary of people, lose trust in new relationships, and retreat into your safe zone. You believe you're protecting yourself, but in truth, you're allowing those who once hurt you to keep controlling you through a quieter version of the same old pain. That protection is no longer a shield, it's become a cage. Letting go of resentment doesn't mean accepting the one who hurt you. It simply means you're no longer willing to carry their burden on your back. You choose to give them back what's theirs and keep for yourself a space they can no longer invade. When you release resentment, you don't feel lighter because someone apologized. You feel lighter because you no longer need that apology. True freedom doesn't come from making others regret. It comes from not needing anything from them to be at peace with yourself. And from that point, you begin to grow strong. Because you carry no one inside you except yourself. 6. Begging for emotion. Not all wounds come from open betrayal. Some hurts are born not from someone walking away, but from you staying too long in a relationship where only you were trying. You weren't wounded by actions, but by indifference. It wasn't that they attacked you, but that they stood still, cold and silent, watching you struggle to hold together a bond already broken. And when they stopped caring, you began to beg for what should have been freely given. Attention, understanding, a simple kind gesture. You didn't ask for much, just a bit of emotion, but that cost you something more vital than love. Self-respect. No one teaches you that love should never become a plea. Society praises forgiveness, sacrifice, patience, but no one tells you that if you always have to beg someone to love you right, maybe you're loving the wrong person or loving in the wrong way. You text first, call first, explain when it's not necessary. Try to understand, even when you're hurting, because you believe if you just try a little harder, they'll change. But real love doesn't require you to trade away your dignity to survive. It doesn't come from lowering yourself, but from the natural bond between two people who respect each other enough to stay. The Stoics don't glorify loneliness, but they reject the idea of living dependent on external validation. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In the world of emotion, that means be willing to be seen as cold, uncaring, even harsh just to protect your boundaries. Because if a relationship constantly forces you to prove your worth, then that relationship is teaching you that you have none. And eventually, you start to believe it. Begging for emotion is a psychological trap. You think you only need one more time, one apology, one gesture, one sign that you still matter. But how many times have you waited like that? How many times have you told yourself just one more, only to end up more exhausted, more hollow? Maybe the problem isn't that you haven't done enough, but that you've done too much for someone who no longer respects you enough to listen. When you stop begging, you don't lose love, you regain your position, and that position isn't beside someone, it's within yourself. Refusing to beg isn't stubbornness, it's how you tell the world, my emotions have value, and I don't need anyone to validate them to make that true. Because sometimes, the silent resentment inside you doesn't come from what the past did to you, but from how long you've allowed others to diminish you in the present. And if you don't withdraw in time, that resentment won't just turn against them, it will slowly destroy you from the inside. 7. The voice that criticizes yourself. The one who hurts you most may not be out there. Sometimes, the one who sabotages you most deeply is the voice inside you, that familiar sound, always ready to accuse. You can cut ties with a toxic relationship, but if you still carry the words ingrained from years of being belittled, you haven't truly escaped. The more you beg for emotional validation from others, the more you train yourself to believe you don't deserve it. And eventually, you no longer need anyone to put you down. You do it yourself. You make a small mistake and instantly, how stupid are you? You forget something and your instinct snaps. No one can ever trust you. These accusations echo in your head without needing to be spoken aloud. They were planted there from the times you were judged, abandoned, or loved conditionally. At first, they hurt. Then, slowly, you begin to believe them. And when criticism becomes your inner language, you stop realizing you're living in a cycle of self-punishment daily, hourly, without even needing a reason. Stoicism doesn't teach you to ignore your mistakes, but it never encourages self-degradation either. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What you think of yourself every day paints the shape of your soul. If that color is disappointment, self-hate, quiet assault, you will live in a shell of fear, deficiency, and the belief that you're not good enough for peace. And someone who thinks they're unworthy can never live boldly, never build real boundaries, and never believe they're worthy of respect. The voice of self-criticism isn't discipline, it's destruction wearing a disciplined disguise. You don't have to forgive every mistake, but you must learn to speak to yourself like a companion, not an interrogator. When you begin to change the inner dialogue from condemnation to understanding, from insult to guidance, you don't just recover, you grow. You don't need anyone to tell you you're good enough. You just need to stop planting in your mind the very words others once used to silence you. Maybe you don't need anyone's forgiveness. You just need to stop punishing yourself. And when that voice softens, you'll hear something rare but precious. Stillness. Not the kind that comes from having no more mistakes, but the kind that comes from no longer using your mistakes to sentence yourself. And from that stillness, a stronger version of you will rise, not loud, not flashy, just steady enough to never shatter yourself again. 8. The urge to explain everything. When you stop condemning yourself, you'll discover something else. Much of your exhaustion doesn't come from being misunderstood, it comes from constantly trying to explain yourself so you won't be. You think relief will come when someone listens, when they understand your side, when you clear things up to avoid being seen the wrong way. But the harder you try to explain, the more trapped you feel in a loop of insecurity. Because there's a brutal truth every adult must face. Not everyone truly wants to understand you. Some are only looking for a reason to judge you more easily. The urge to explain everything is a sign of a mind that isn't yet free. You fear being misunderstood, fear being seen as cold, ungrateful, heartless, afraid that if you don't clarify things, they'll withdraw the affection you worked so hard to earn. But the truth is, if someone walks away simply because you didn't have time to explain, maybe their love never really stood on your side. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." You don't have to speak the truth if you live it. And those deep enough to see you will understand, without needing proof. When you feel the urge to justify every action, every decision, every emotion, you've placed yourself on trial before an invisible court. You've put yourself in a position that begs for approval. And even though no one's ordering it, you still feel the need to defend. More frightening than external accusations is when you've agreed to always explain yourself just to feel allowed to exist, to choose your path, to simply be okay. Stoics don't live by words, they live by quiet. They don't argue with bias, nor respond to every criticism. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand. Anything that needs to be explained doesn't always need to be. The less you feel the need to prove yourself right, the closer you are to inner peace. Because truth doesn't require protection through words. It stands on its own. And one day, you'll pause before sending that long message and delete it. You'll stop feeling hurt when someone doesn't understand you. Not because you've grown numb, but because you've realized understanding cannot be demanded. It's something to be received from those deep enough to need no explanation. And in that moment, you'll choose silence not as endurance, but as the clearest expression of strength. 9. The false finish line called happiness. Not everyone who suffocates you means harm. Sometimes it's the very ideals praised as noble that trap you in an endless loop. And nothing deceives you more cleverly than something called happiness. Since childhood, you were told, if you try hard enough, if you follow the right steps, if you endure enough pain, then the reward will be happiness. As if it were a clear destination, a real milestone, a mountaintop where once you arrive, all wounds will be healed. But life doesn't follow that route. It has no reward. It only has each passing moment and how you choose to live with them. Happiness is not a destination, but when you treat it as one, you begin to postpone everything that makes you feel alive now. You say, once I'm stable, I'll slow down. Once I reach that position, I'll rest. Once they understand me, I'll be at peace. And so, life is placed on hold because you think you haven't yet earned happiness, haven't met the criteria for peace. You start living like a pilgrim who's never allowed to stop because stopping feels like failure. But that's the trap. No one hands out rewards to someone who only knows how to keep running forward. No one draws a real finish line for a concept that was never in the future, but in how you show up to the present. The Stoics never sought happiness, they sought steadiness. Because from that foundation, joy can come and go without dragging your soul behind it. Seneca once wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." You don't need to be happy all the time. You just need to stop trading away the present for the pursuit of a vague emotion. And when you stop chasing happiness as a goal, you'll find enough calm to realize some things don't need to be explained, just lived authentically. 10 habits that quietly drain your energy. Once you stop being lured by the illusion of a finish line called happiness, you begin to notice the subtler, quieter forces, the ones slowly draining your inner strength every day without any dramatic crisis. Exhaustion doesn't always come from failure, nor does it require a big shock to reveal itself. Sometimes it's the small, familiar habits, the ones that seem harmless, that silently make you lose yourself. You wake up and immediately grab your phone, not to connect, but to be pulled into things beyond your control. Who's doing what? Who's ahead of you? Who just achieved something you haven't? One swipe through social media seems like harmless entertainment, but it plants in your mind distraction, comparison, and a sense of lack. You don't feel tired right away, but by noon, you have no energy left for anything deep. Then you delay, defer, compromise. You think you're resting, but really, you're being drained by behaviors you refuse to admit are toxic. Stoicism doesn't ask you to live ascetically, but it demands enough awareness to recognize what's slowly eating away at your vitality. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" A simple question, yet one that can cut through many unconscious behaviors. You don't need to become superhuman. You just need to stop feeding the very things that weaken you. And the frightening part is, those habits don't scream, don't threaten. They only need to be repeated long enough until you believe change is no longer possible. When you remove what's quietly draining you, you don't just reclaim energy, you reclaim agency over your life. You no longer chase happiness as a reward. You no longer try to explain yourself in vain. You begin to live less, but deeper, slower, but more solid. And in that wakefulness, you finally enter the quiet space of inner power, a place where nothing can take away the strength you've rebuilt, piece by piece. I used to think I was strong because I could endure so much. I stayed silent when disrespected, kept trying in relationships that had lost all mutual respect, kept holding on to the image of someone doing fine, even though I was slowly rotting inside. There were nights I lay still, eyes wide open, not because of anything specific, but simply because I felt myself slowly drifting away from who I was. And I asked myself, what's draining me? No one was hurting me anymore, yet I still felt exhausted, as if I were carrying something nameless. Only later did I realize it was me who allowed small but harmful things to linger too long, the habits, the thoughts, the compromises that seemed harmless. I didn't need a dramatic turning point to change. I just needed to start saying enough to the small things and respect myself enough not to accept anything that quietly weakens me again. If this video helped you see more clearly the silent forces that have been draining your inner strength, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss what's coming next. You don't have to explain why you're changing. Just change quietly and let the silence speak for you, because the less someone needs to be understood, the harder they are to control. And the more you dare to remove what's unnecessary, the closer you get to your inner power. I'll see you in the next video.